Is all this worth it? I chose to stay. I've been working so hard on me. I've been going to counseling. I'm exhausted. He's still not doing everything I need and want him to do. It's been a year and I'm still mad. I still grieve. I'm just, should I even, is this even worth it? Should I go? Should I just stop? Have you hit that wall yet? It's there. Believe me, you will at some point hit that wall and wonder and question your decision to stay in the marriage. Most of us do. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. Exactly what this wall is and how to get over it. Stay tuned. You know, I called it a wall a minute ago, but it kind of reminds me, if you're as old as I am, you remember record players, right? And if you ever got a scratch on a record and you're playing it on the record player, it's like it goes, no, 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 and it just keeps repeating the same. It just keeps skipping. And the only way to get it to get past the skip is sometimes you got to put a little pressure on the head of the record player, and it'll just skip it over and start playing the song normally. At least that was my trick back in the day. That's kind of what it reminded me of when I hit my wall, if you will. I think a big part of this wall comes about when we're physically and emotionally just exhausted. And we've been working hard on ourselves, been working hard on our marriage. We've been suffering through PTSD, dealing with triggers. Many of us had families, we had kids we had to take care of. We still had jobs, we still had stuff going on in our world. And to also be going through affair recovery just added another layer of exhaustion in our lives. Not to mention, frustrated because our husband's not doing everything we want them to do, and they're not pulling their weight, if you will. So we hit that skip in the record, and we're just tired of it. You know, we just want to stop playing the record altogether, and we say, fine, I'm just going to throw this record away. I'm done. I just don't even want to deal with this. This is not even worth it. And we ask the question, is it worth the effort I'm putting in? Can this marriage really be saved? Now, I'm not going to answer that because I don't know you and I don't know your marriage. So if you're watching this thinking I'm going to give you a magic answer, I'm not. But I am going to share some ways in which we can get past the scratch and make the best decision for us and our marriage. And here are a few things we can do. First and foremost, we need to do some reflection. And the way I did this back in the day when I hit my little skip in the record, if you will, when I hit my wall, was I started taking a real inventory of, what is going well with me. I was very focused a lot on the negative. I wasn't sleeping. I knew I wasn't eating well. I mean, there were things I knew I was not doing very well. But when I had to physically sit down and put on paper the stuff that's going well, that made a difference, because I could actually see that even though it felt like it had been, say, a year, 2 years, and nothing had, the needle hadn't moved and I'm still skipping, things had actually progressed. For instance, communication skills with my husband had gotten better. We had been working on that. I had become a lot better at managing my emotions and managing triggers. I had started looking at better ways to eat, and I started exercising. I started, sleeping better because I was now exercising during the day. I was getting that burned. I was burning off the nervous energy and things of that nature. So I made a complete list, and once I realized how far I'd come from the day I found out about the affair until then, I was amazed. I was so proud of myself. I'm like, what? Look at me. Hey now, like I could actually have a conversation with him about the affair partner without losing my ever-loving mind. I was able to confidently say to people who knew about the affair and questioned why I stayed, I was able to, confidently say I'm staying without making excuses for him, if that makes any sense. I wasn't feeling as much shame when my parents would bring it up or some, you know what I mean? It's like I actually had come a long way, but these were such little tiny, minute steps that the whole big affair recovery thing just took over, and I wasn't recognizing the little gains along the way. So one way to get past the skip is to maybe just make a list. Hey, I'm better at this now. Hey, I've realized this about myself, which is cool because I didn't know that about me before. Hey, I am a tough cookie because look at where I am now. And make that list, celebrate it. Celebrate the baby steps, celebrate the progress you have. I promise you, you've made progress. There is no way it's been a year, 2 years from D-Day and you have made absolutely no progress. You made progress, I promise. So write that down, the good stuff. Write down the good stuff. Then take time to actually write down the good stuff about your husband. I did that. What good things have come? And he was making changes. Now it took for us to get to where he had made the most significant changes was years, but he did along the way. He made little changes along the way and he stuck with them. He was intentional about them. So I made a list, the good stuff that he's done, good stuff. And I celebrated those just as much as I celebrated mine. I mostly celebrated the ones that he did without me asking. Those were huge. And they were little, they were teeny tiny little things I always wished he would do and suddenly he's doing them. And I didn't ask. Wow, that was huge. Make note of the good stuff. And then really look at how far the two of you have come. Like from the day you found out about the affair till now, how does that look? How different is that? Take inventory. How has it changed? And what have we learned about ourselves? What has he learned about himself and what have I learned about myself, right? Like, I promise you, every challenge in our lives is a growth opportunity. How have we grown? What have we learned about ourselves? So once you take this inventory, you have a better view of how far you've come. So it's really not a skip in the record anymore. It's a moment in time. It's part of it is just our frustration for not, super healing or jumping all the way to the end, to the finish line without going through the marathon, right? So that comes to my next step. So once you've done all these and you've reevaluated and you've really reflected, then it comes time to re-examine what our goals are, because part of this could also be we're disappointed that we're not as far as we wanted to be. We're disappointed that magical goal we have in our head has not been met. And part of us are disappointed with our husband because we had goals and expectations for them that aren't being met. Re-examine those goals and ask yourself, is this realistic? I mean, was it realistic for me to say everything was going to be peachy keen in 6 months? Was it realistic to think that he would be like the best husband ever in this amount of time? Was it realistic for me to expect him to be completely over the affair partner, the affair he had for years, to be over her in like a month? That he was going to commit to being with me and suddenly he's just completely forgotten about her? I mean, what were our expectations? Let's be clear about the goals we set and the expectations we have. Were they realistic? And if they were not realistic, reimagine them. Okay, well, yeah, it probably wasn't realistic. What's more realistic? Now that we've been through about a year or two, what's more realistic when it comes to affair recovery? I don't know about you, but I didn't know a thing about affairs when I found out about my husband's. I had to learn along the way. So I can definitely reflect back now a lot easier. So if it's been a year or two after his affair and you're watching this video, look back. What did you expect? And how can you reimagine that? So take time to do an inventory. Write down the good stuff. Celebrate how far you've come. Then look at your goals. Re-examine them. Are they realistic? And if they're not, reimagine them. And then take a moment to sit with that. Is it worth it? Knowing where you started and where you are now, was this growth worth it? The work your spouse has done, has that been worth it to you? Because really that's the question we're asking. Should we stay? Is it worth it to stay? That's really the bottom line question. Think about that. Do that exercise. See if you can come up with answers to that. And then once you accomplish that, then you'll know, should you stay or should you go? I have a Facebook group I'd love for you to join us. We talk about stuff like this all the time. The link is below. And I also have a couple of free resources I'd love for you to grab as well. Thanks for taking time to watch this, and I hope it's been helpful to you. And good luck with your exercises.